David Icke was born in Leicester, England on April 29, 1952, and he was clearly very pleased to be here. His was a working-class background in post-war England. He felt from an early age that he was here to do something, although he didn't know what. He thought at first that it was to be a footballer, a love throughout his childhood that led him to play as a professional throughout his teenage years until arthritis ended his career. He went on to be a journalist and BBC presenter, becoming a well-known face on British television for many years. He was also a national spokesman for the British Green Party in the 1980s, before the day his life was to change forever. For a year throughout 1989, he felt a presence around him. When he was alone, he felt that something else was always there, and it became ever more tangible. This led him to a professional psychic, Betty Shine, to see if she would pick up what was happening to him. He told her nothing about his experience, but she said that a presence was communicating to him through her. She said David was going out on a world stage to reveal great secrets. One man cannot change the world, she said, but one man can communicate the message that will change the world. She said he would face enormous opposition, but they would always be there to protect him. From that day, David's life became an amazing journey of synchronicity, leading him to people, documents, information, and personal experiences that gave him the puzzle pieces to reveal what is really happening in the world behind the smokescreen of lies, suppression, and manipulation. The journey took him to Peru, where incredible experiences followed, including a download of information on a hill close to a sacred Inca site, recreated here on a return visit in 2012, which involved him standing unable to move in a powerful electromagnetic field of energy for nearly an hour. His life then changed dramatically yet again. For 3 months after that experience, David said he was lost in a bewildered daze. Such was the impact of the massive energetic information download that he was struggling to process. He said it was like a computer freezing with too many keys pressed too quickly. In that same period, he appeared on a primetime BBC television chat show to talk about what had happened, and it led to mass public and media ridicule on a scale ongoing, year after year, that few will ever have experienced. It was historic in its intensity.
In the audience tonight.
But no,
but just let me say this.
They're laughing at you. They're not laughing with you.
Fine.
In the face of that enormous backlash, David thought his life was over, but it had only just begun. 3 months after the Peru experience, he says everything morphed back into clarity, and while he appeared to friends to be the old David again, he wasn't. Suddenly he could see the world in a way that he had not before. In his words, he could see beyond the program that holds humanity in often unknowing servitude. He has crisscrossed the world over and over and written a stream of books that have proved to be extraordinarily accurate in predicting world events and the direction of human society. The man that they said was mad is now at the cutting edge of exposing the human plight, lifting the veil on all that has been kept from us. As David once said, today's mighty oak is just yesterday's nut that held its ground. Prepare for a day you will never forget. Ladies and gentlemen, David Icke.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Very kind. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's okay. You'll make me cry. Thank you. I'd like to welcome you to the last of the Worldwide Wake Up Tour all-day events, which started in the summer of 2016, and I've been all around the world, right across Australia, America, Europe, Scandinavia, the Balkans. And I would like to pay tribute at this last event, because it's become very relevant, to the management of this venue. Because the more successful I have been in communicating suppressed information, the more the efforts have intensified to silence me. And so, in more and more recent times, efforts by what I call ultra-Zionist hate groups who seek to get the public to hate their targets and thus silence them, I've been trying to get my events cancelled. Last week they managed it. We found another one though, at, of all places, Manchester United's ground, when Manchester United, that's supposed to be a giant football club, showed itself to have no integrity, no class, and no backbone, pulling an event on the day without even telling us, we found out in the media. Contrast that with the efforts to stop this event today going ahead, and the management of this venue, the Mech, saying, we're not having it. It's going ahead. That is the backbone and the integrity we need to meet this now war on freedom of speech that's coming from every angle. And two things. One, the management who did that are going to see today that what I'm accused of is a racist by these ultra-Zionist hate groups is absolutely the opposite of what I'm presenting. And what they say I'm going to say today actually is going to be the opposite of what they say. That's how incredible, ridiculous, and outrageous this mendacity is. But if you cannot silence someone on the basis of what they're saying, then lie about what they're saying and silence them that way. And the other thing that people are going to see today is the real reason, as this day unfolds, the real reason why there is this gathering hysteria to silence me. And that is the information they are really trying to suppress and silence. And it's got nothing to do with race or racism, and everything to do with controlling the narrative so that only one version of world events ever gets heard, and thus no one questions it. But I should be, and I am, greatly encouraged by this hysteria, this efforts to silence me, not least because of this famous quote by Mahatma Gandhi. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. Well, they have ignored me. My goodness, they have laughed at me. And now they think they have to fight me. And I won't be fighting them. I don't want to fight anybody. I'm just going to do what I do. They can fight me if they want. But fighting me is just one step from then you win. And it's not me winning. It's freedom winning. It's freedom of expression winning. It's free debate and free discourse winning. And we will. And we frickin' will. Now, the irony is that apparently for much of the last nearly 30 years that I've been on this journey, I was mad. I wasn't dangerous. I am now, apparently. But I was mad. He's mad, he is. And the reason they said that I was mad is because I am different. And different is not another word for madness. But we are constantly led to believe that it is, so that anything outside the box is immediately waved away and ridiculed. You know, someone just called me normal. You can call me anything you like, and most people have called me everything you can imagine. But don't call me normal. If you want to insult me, call me. Don't call me normal. Because when you look at normality in this crazy world, if this crazy world sees you as normal, it's time to look again at what we're doing. What we call normal is only what we normally experience, nothing more. That's all it is. If you live in the outback of Australia, your normal is never seeing anybody and never seeing a car, a vehicle pass by. If you're born in downtown Manhattan, your normal is never not seeing people and never not seeing vehicles pass by. It's just what we normally experience. And so it's not me that's mad. It's me that's different. It's not me that's mad. It's the world that's mad. The world of insanity that has persuaded itself that insanity is normal. We live in a crazy place, a madhouse. And if you're born into a crazy place and you grow up in a crazy place and you go through your entire life in the crazy place, crazy is your normal because it's all you've ever known. And someone comes out from outside of the crazy place and says, hey, this is madness. It's a crazy place. What do they say? You're mad. You're not normal. It's exactly what happens in this madhouse to anyone that challenges convention. Here's a great quote. Birds born in a cage think flying is an illness. Exactly. Another thing about a crazy place, an idiot is a genius to another idiot. So this crazy place fates idiots, puts them into power, builds statues to them. Then knocks them down these days. So what we're going to do today is take a journey through the madhouse. And I'm going to use this symbol of the rabbit hole. And with each section, I'm going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. And my goodness, when we get further into the day, we're going to go into some strange places. But I'm going to start outside the rabbit hole. What people call the real world, the world that people perceive every day. And in the real world, there is such a thing, for a start, as time, and time only goes forward. And as you go forward in this time in the real world, you go through different ages and generations, and eventually you come to where you think you are. And on that process of time, it first existing and then only going forward, it means that wherever you are in this sequence, you believe yourself to be on the cutting edge of evolution. Evolution can't go backwards, can, but not in the real world. It can't. And in this forward passage of time, we evolve. So we go from a position where particular bloodlines, interbreeding bloodlines, automatically go into the positions of power as kings and queens and monarchs as a result of their bloodline. And then, apparently, we moved on, and we moved on to dark suit politicians. And because we moved on now, they're there only for the benefit of the people. They only have the best interests of the people at heart in this real world. Democracy and freedom in the real world are interchangeable. They both mean the same thing. They don't, but that's what we're led to believe. In the real world, governments are good. One thing to remember, governments are good. And those that governments bomb and do this, they're evil. They're always evil. Anyone governments bomb. Got to remember that one. Terrorism in the real world is bad. Bad. But governments fighting terrorism and doing this to civilian areas is good. Fighting terrorism, all good. Everything is black and white. Everything is them and us. Everything is bad guys and good guys. No shades of grey, no peripheral vision, nothing. Black and white. In the real world, they must know they're the government. They must know they're scientists. They must know they're doctors. They must know they're teachers. They must know they're professors. They must know they're journalists. I'll just throw that one in as a bit of light relief early on, wake everybody up this time of the morning. And all you have to do in the real world to find out what's happening is watch the evening news. Good evening. Bullshit. Good night. Night after night, day after day after day. In the real world, life is random. Nothing's connected. Everything's apart from everything else. It's all happening by accident. And the real world, is solid. Ooh, it's solid. Therefore, it's limited. Reality in the real world is a mystery. Ooh, where are we? And who we are, the very essence of who we are, apparently, is a mystery. Ooh. Now that and so many other elements are the pillars of this real world perceptual prison. And every single one of them, everyone, is an illusion. We should not confuse truth with what we believe. Big mistake that so many make. We are at the cutting edge of evolution. Cutting edge. Cutting edge. Cutting edge. Now we are we? Cutting edge. Cutting edge. Cutting fricking edge. Oh, look, what time's the game show on? Oh, gee, the world is mad. And once you realize that, it all makes sense. It's not you that's mad. It's the world you live in. And people make this mistake. Oh, it must be me. No, it's not you. The freaking world's mad. Once you realize that, that's why they do that. It's crazy. Yes, exactly. Then comes the question, why is it crazy? Because it's not crazy by accident. There's method in the madness. Why is the world an inversion? Why is it upside down? Because it is. This is a great quote from a guy called Michael Elner. Just look at us. Everything is backwards. Everything is upside down. Doctors destroy health. Lawyers destroy justice. Universities destroy knowledge. Governments destroy freedom. The major media destroy information. And religions destroy spirituality. The upside down world that we live in. And Alice in Wonderland. Nothing would be what it is, because everything would be what it isn't. And contrary-wise, what it is, it wouldn't be. And what it wouldn't be, it would. You see? And I've just described the world. And all this is happening by chance. You must be joking. And I have this phrase, my dot is the only dot. And this is what holds so many people in servitude to their dot. Their dot might be their career, it might be their family, it might be a football team. It might be anything that they choose to focus upon. And nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with any of that. But if you focus on a dot so closely, you lose peripheral vision. Put anything in front of your eyes like that. You've got no peripheral vision. You can only just see that. And it's in the peripheral vision that all this manipulation that I'm talking about goes on. And if you're focused on a dot, you're not going to see it. If you see the pieces, the dots, only, and not how they fit together, no one will ever be able to see what's going on in the world. And that's why the world is presented to us as unconnected dots and random events. People are so obsessed with the twigs that they can't see the forest. And it's at the forest level that it all fits together, where you see the tapestry and not just the strands. And it's, whoa, so that's what's going on. Life is not unconnected. On every single level of experience and reality, everything is connected and is ultimately one consciousness. But to see this picture, we have to answer these questions. Where are we being taken day by day? How are we being taken there? Who is taking us there and why? And I'll answer those questions before the day is out. And we'll start with this one. Where are we being taken? Like I say, day by day by day, and ever more obviously, we're being taken here to what I call the Hunger Games Society. At the top, you have an elite 1%, actually less than 1% at its core, that are designed, and they're moving there so fast, they are planned to control everything. All wealth, all decision-making, in the end, even all thought. At the bottom of the Hunger Games Society pyramid is virtually everyone else. Yes, including those that think none of this matters to them because they've got a bit of money in the bank and a nice house and go on holiday twice a year. Those people too are planned to be here. And holding this status quo ongoing is planned to be a merciless, not just police state in the end, but a military police state in which the police and the military are the same. And just look around the world, just look at what's happening in terms of imposition by the state through people in uniform. And you can see it's happening in front of our eyes all the time. 1% currently own 50% of the world's wealth. The Hunger Games Society is not coming, it's here. It's just a case of how extreme we allow it to be. Or we roll it back. What a great idea. Gates, Microsoft, Buffett, the investor, Bezos of Amazon, those three people are worth together more than 160 million Americans. That's the extent of the Hunger Games Society, which I've been talking about all these years, that we've now reached. Crushing austerity for some, more and more wealth for the tiny few. This is the process of creating the Hunger Games Society. And this is the structure, the control structure of that society, which again is unfolding before our eyes. They want a world government that would dictate to every community. A world central bank that would dictate all finance globally. A world currency, which is I've been writing since the early 1990s, is designed to be a cashless digital currency. With no cash, we are hurtling towards the cashless society because it's part of this agenda. A world army to impose the will of the world government, which is designed to be NATO and other elements I'll come to later. And a Microsoft, yes it is actually, in so many ways. It's certainly a microchipped population. But microchip population does not even begin to cut what I'm talking about. And in section 3, I'll get into that. What does transhumanism really mean? It means the end of the human mind, if we sit around and watch it happen. And under that, designed to be a series of superstates, the European Union being the furthest advanced, to carry out the will of the world government in various regions of the world. Under that, nation states, which they want to break up into regions, to deunify in a unified challenge to that edifice of power above. And these organizations like the World Health Organization, the World Trade Organization, are designed to be controlled by the world government and put these subject area policies under one roof, where they can be decided globally. And I've been writing now since well back into the 1990s about the plan for the world government, and now they're even talking about it openly. And we have a de facto world government already called the United Nations Security Council. The European Union is part of it, and of course NATO, the World Army. And this is the moving step by step to this Hunger Games society, which is been described in my earlier books way back. So, how are we being taken there? Question number 2. And this is where we take our first step into the rabbit hole, into the shadows, into the arena of secret societies and semi-secret groups, from where the world of the seen is manipulated without people realizing it. The world is structured as a spider's web, symbolically. You've got the spider at the center of the web, which is dictating everything. The nature of that spider, what it is, I'll get to in section 3. These strands around the spider represent the most exclusive and therefore secretive secret societies. Only the really, really chosen few will have any chance of being part of those and thus be close to understanding the full nature of what the agenda is. As you come out from the spider, still in the hidden, you meet those secret societies we do know about. The Freemasons, the Knights of Malta, Knights Templar, Opus Dei, etc. And they are secret societies which the inner circle knows what's going on, or some of it, and the rest only know increasingly less about what's going on as they come down the pyramid of compartmentalization. And then eventually, you meet what I call the cusp organizations. This is where the hidden meets the seen. And here's another portrayal of it. These cusp organizations are like the Bilderberg Group, the Council on Foreign Relations in America, the Trilateral Commission, the Club of Rome, also the United Nations is part of this. And the plan comes from the spider through these cusp organizations, which are amalgamations of people in all these different institutions and walks of life. And through these, that which is decided by the spider enters the world of the seen. And at this point, it appears that governments, government agencies, corporations, banking systems, etc., are making the decisions. No, no, no. They are carrying out the decisions that ultimately start with the spider. And this is why the world is so unbelievably coordinated. And when you travel the world constantly, as I do, my goodness me, it is so obvious now. The same things are happening everywhere. This is how it's done. And like I say, secret societies are broken up into levels of degree. What are they? They're levels of knowledge of what actually the secret society is all about. The vast majority of Freemasons are on the bottom 3 levels of degree and never get to know what they're really part of. This is the compartmentalization I'm talking about. So, world-changing events are random. No, they're not. They're carefully planned, and I mean long before. We are looking at an unfolding plan that is projected far into what we perceive to be the future, while apparently happening randomly, bit by bit. It's not how it works. Prophecy. Prophecy about what is coming is not prophecy. It's just knowing what the agenda is. The reason, or a major reason, why so many more people around the world are now looking at my information is because what I wrote in books in the 1990s is now happening now all the time. Why? Because I sat in a darkened room and pulled it out the ether? No. Once you break in to this projected agenda through hard work, research, and effort, you can access this projected plan for the world. Unless someone comes in, that is what the whole point of what I do and others do, is to create this intervention. Unless there's an intervention to stop that plan unfolding, that plan will unfold. Therefore, if you can access what the plan is, you can predict the future. The idea is not to be predicting the future accurately, but for what they plan not to happen. And that's exactly what these two people were doing. George Orwell in his book 1984, published in 1948, and Aldous Huxley in his book Brave New World, published in 1932, they weren't coming purely from their imagination. They'd accessed this projected agenda, and therefore they could accurately, unless there was an intervention, predict what was happening. This is why these two books are proved so extraordinarily prophetic in terms of current events. It wasn't just a story, it was knowledge of the future, a future that is now. And I'm not going to read all this stuff, you'll be delighted to know, but this guy's very, very interesting. In 1969, going on this theme of being able to predict the future if you know the agenda, this guy, Dr. Richard Day, he was a Rockefeller family insider. He was an executive of Planned Parenthood, which was a Rockefeller organization that actually started out as a eugenics organization originally. I say originally. He, for some reason no one knows, he addressed a meeting in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in 1969 of pediatricians. And he asked them to turn off recording equipment and not to take notes because he was going to tell them how the world was going to change, because what he represented was going to change it. What he said that day, compared with current events, is so phenomenally accurate, not just in theme either, in fine detail often. The World Wide Web, we're told, was invented in 1989. Richard Day described it in 1969. Smart TVs that can film and record you in your own front room, and we're only seeing Mark 1 and 2 of them now, not where it's meant to go, were supposed to have come out around 2008. Dr. Richard Day described them in 1969. George Orwell described them in 1948. He called them telescreens. This is something that is not random. It's not a real world. It's a world of illusion. And the reason we don't know about it, until now, is this, what I call the program. The idea is to hoard knowledge, advanced knowledge, nature of reality knowledge, technological knowledge, knowledge of the agenda at the top of this global pyramid, just another way of symbolizing the spider's web, and to keep the target population in ignorance of that knowledge so they don't know what the hell's going on. Control perception and you control reality. And to control perception, you need to control information received from which we form perception. And this is the stadium on which everything is played out. Everything. When there's a few of you and you want to control the great many, you can't do it physically. They're planning to do that through transhumanist technology, as I'll come to, but they have not been able to do it so far. You have to get the population you're targeting to have perceptions that suit your agenda, so they will then, from those perceptions, behave in ways that suit your agenda. And this is basically a description of various scientific studies about the herd mentality. A tendency, this is about humanity, a tendency by the vast majority to follow on mindlessly without resistance. That is the program that I'm talking about. The idea is to get the population to see the world through the system's eyes, and thus be no problem for the system. This guy's called Edward Bernays. He's known as the father of PR, another word for lying. And he wrote this book in 1928. This is not new. And he said this, a book called Propaganda. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. In almost every act of our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires which control the public mind, the public perception. He said the secret was engineering the consent of the people in order to control and regiment them according to our will without their knowing about it. He described this as the true ruling power in our society, and he called it the invisible government. Exactly what it is. And there are many social engineering organizations around the world who are there to manipulate the public perception in that way described. And this is one of the most famous of them, perhaps the most famous, the Frankfurt School of Social Engineering, formed in the Rothschild city of Frankfurt in the 1920s. And this was their wish list they started out with. Started out in Frankfurt, then it moved to other places, ended up in California, where all political correctness came out of, as I'll get to. This is where it came from. And this was their wish list all that time ago. The creation of racism offenses, continual change to create confusion, the teaching of sex to young children, huge immigration to destroy national identity, the promotion of excessive drinking, emptying churches, in other words, undermining any form of social cohesion, legal system with bias against victims of crime, dependency on the state or state benefits, and then pulling them once dependency is achieved. This is what the Hunger Games Society is about. Control and dumbing down of the media, brackets achieved. Encouraging the breakdown of the family. Now that last one is on virtually every wish list of social engineering organizations I've seen. The destruction of the family unit, and there are reasons for that, which I'll explain as the day unfolds. So this is the life program, the perception download that people are put through from cradle to grave to download perceptions the system finds acceptable to its agenda. First of all, you come out of the womb, hello world, and the first stage of programming is the parents. And the parents have been through the process that you're about to go through, have bought the program, not everybody, but most people, and are not thinking they're doing the best for the child, they pass the program on immediately to the child in terms of perceptions of reality. In a ludicrously short time, what is it now, 4 years? You've just arrived in the world, blinking. And suddenly, in 4 years, you're sitting at a desk in front of an authority figure, being told what's right, what's wrong, what is, what isn't, what's possible, what's impossible, who you are, who you're not, when you can go to the toilet, when you can eat, when you can talk, when you have to be there, when you can go home. You've only just frickin' arrived. It's madness. Control perception and you control reality. Education is not about educating. It's about programming. Programming a perception for life that suits the system. That's why they do it. It's child abuse. And what does school teach children? Truth comes from authority. Intelligence is the ability to remember and repeat. Accurate memory and repetition are rewarded. Non-compliance is punished. Hello, is that Mrs. Jones? Yeah, well, it's Johnny. he's a problem. Why? Because he's asking questions in the classroom. They'll all want to do it if we let him. We're thinking of giving him some Ritalin. Calm him down. Conform intellectually and socially. Lesson for life. The system knows best and is always right. I will follow the rules. I will follow the rules. I will follow the rules. You've got to get young children into the mindset of following the rules, carrot and the stick, follow the rules. So they will go on following the rules for the rest of their lives.